Well, hey guys, so today we're going to make this little isometric building here. Basically what this is just a series of shapes on our grid that we made that make it look as if there's some sort of like depth, like, you know, cutting into it, but there's no cutting, there's no using the shape builder tool for this one. It's basically just shapes on shapes, right? So even this little area where the sidewalk kind of pops in, it's all just, you know, just a shape on a shape, right? So let's go into our isometric grid. I'm zoomed in quite a bit, but what we'll do first is just zoom in a good deal so we can make one side of our building. And I'm going to keep my fill off for now, and I'll keep my stroke on for now. And once again, we'll just make a new layer and keep our grid locked. So with my pen tool selected, I'll just make this one sort of shape, this parallelogram, and you can make it square, you can make it rectangular if you want, you can make it a short, wide building or a tall, skinny building, it's up to you. And I'll just come over in here. I'm not really paying too much attention to how wide things are. I just want to make sure it's the same. It's not, it goes up and down, it goes straight up and down, doesn't slant. All right, close that off, and we'll just do what we normally do. We just right-click on it, transform, and reflect, and we'll make a copy. Okay, try it again here. Get this whole thing selected. All right, we'll just right-click, transform, reflect, and copy. All right, so what we'll do is we'll just drag this to connect over here on this side here. We'll grab this one here. And we'll drag this to the side. And make sure they connect up to their anchor points here. Let me just zoom in a little bit just so I can make sure that it snaps to it. All right, that's good. And what we'll do from there is we will add our door. So our door is going to look like this. We're just going to create, we'll create a shape. Basically, this is going to be, so essentially we have like the light side, the dark side. So I'm going to have this door kind of pop in a little bit here. It's going to have a little depression in the wall, a little recess, a little bivouac, an alcove, if you will. And we'll just kind of go up this way like so, and we'll make a little trapezoid shape like that. This will be like the side of the wall, the side of the door that's kind of hanging out there. And then we'll make a door like so. We'll control click and we'll just attach this door to the side here, and we'll just make a little rectangular shape for the door like this. And you know, pop it down like that. Now if it's not exactly to scale, that's fine. If it's not exactly the way I have it, that's okay. And then we'll create a little trapezoid shape down here like so. Right, to have a little part where like we kind of walk in, so you can kind of envision that. So I'm just going to take this whole shape here, this whole thing I just made, all of these things, like all these little shapes here. I'll group them together, and I'll just alt drag them up here to kind of form one of the windows. And what we'll do is we will get our direct select tool, and we'll just select the top corners here, and just we can just grab one, hold down shift, and just drag it straight down to make a little square shape. To make our window. And if you want to make this smaller all around, you can, but I'll just make some big windows here. And if you want to move your door out of the way, you can too. So I can just kind of take this and sort of move it a little more towards this side if I wanted to. Yeah, I like it where it was before. It's up to you. If you made it this this whole thing even, then obviously that'll work too. But here I'll just drag this over here. I'll just move my select tool, and I'll just click and drag, alt drag. I'll make a copy over here, and I'll just have this be even, kind of like hanging over this way. So it was like one off the wall over there, it'll be one off the wall over here. I could even just pull it in a little bit. I think actually this should go maybe one over to the other direction here. So you can just like move this wherever you want. All right, once again, I'm going to probably group this first. I'll just drag this over here. One. All right, yeah, that'll do. All right, so what we'll do is we'll grab this, and we'll just right-click on it, transform, and reflect, and we'll copy that, and we'll just drag one over here. We'll have it one off the wall like we had before, and we'll have it even, like so, and then we'll alt to drag to the other side as well. We could even add 3 windows here. Put one right here, and one over here. And obviously, if you want to sort of space those out, you can. If you want to have 2, if you want to have 3, if you want to have 4, you can. But we'll have like 3 little windows over there. Okay, so let's decide what we want, what color we want this to be. So what I'll do is I will grab onto this side here, and I'll just go to Properties, and I'll grab my fill, and I'll just fill this up with, say, a reddish color like this, and I'll go to my color mixer, and I'm going to go over here to my options and choose HSB, and I'll just drag the S down. This is the saturation, so I'll make it a little bit paler, and maybe I'll drag a little bit up. I'll just drag the brightness up a little bit. So I'll have sort of a light thing, just so I can have a place to go. So I'll go over to the other side here, and I'll choose this shape, and I'll get my eyedropper tool and just click on that, and I'll just drag my B value down, right? Drag my brightness value down. Okay, so in this case, what we could probably do is try to take off the grid so we can see this a little bit better. And I'll start into my door shape over here, or rather my windows and stuff. So I'll get this. I'll get the direct select tool so I can see the colors better, and I'll just click on this shape here, and I'll get my eyedropper tool and I'll just grab this color here, and I'll do the same thing for this one. I'll just grab this color. Oops. Let me get my direct select tool here, and just eyedropper this one. Okay. And I'll do the same thing for this side of the door. And as far as this side goes, I can make this little underside here just a little bit darker, not quite as dark. So I can just grab this, and I can get my properties, get my fill, and I'll just drag my B value up a little bit until it doesn't quite match what I've got there. So let's see here. All right, if I were to take off the stroke, I wonder what I would see. Okay, it's not quite as light as I would like it, so let me just grab onto this so I can see there's at least a difference in between the different objects here. All right, that's good. And I'll grab the little window here. Let me get my direct select tool here. Let me get my, oops. I'll get my stroke back on real quick for everything, just so I can see everything. And I'll get the direct select tool. I'll have to click on the stroke here. And I'll just get my fill, and I'll just grab like a light blue. So it'll be like my window, my kind of glass window there. And I'll just do the same for the other shapes here. I'll grab this, and I'll make this a light blue. And I'll grab this, and I'll make this a light blue. And you can even grab your direct select tool and just hold down Shift for each one of these things. And just click once with the eyedropper tool, and they'll all turn blue. Now over here, we'll want these to be a little bit darker so we can see these a bit better, but first off, let me just grab this. I'll make this right, the same color there. So for these, we'll want these to be a little bit darker, so I'll hold down Shift with my direct select tool, and I'll just select these shapes one by one, and I'll make these a bit darker. So I'm going to go to my properties here with my fill, and I'll just start off with this, and I'll just drag this down a good deal to make these a bit darker. And make them pretty dark, and just so I can have some place to go with my other side here. So I'll click on this, hold down Shift, grab these guys, and I'll grab this color, and I'll just make this slightly darker, dark enough to where I can see the difference. And then finally, for this shape here, I'll make this a light gray, something like that. All right, so let's take away our stroke. I'll just select everything, and Control A, select everything. I'll just take the stroke off, and let's see how that looks. All right, let's shape it up. This needs to be a little bit closer here, so let me just select all of these shapes here. I'll just get it real close. See if I can nudge this over a little bit until it matches. All right, that's good. Okay, so for the next one, is this good? Do I need to? All right, I'll pull this in a little bit closer. Up a little bit. All right. Obviously, you know this. You can be as exact as you want. Sometimes it helps to be a little more precise. All right, I'll put my grid back up here, and I'll just make a little sidewalk. So I'll get my little pen tool here, and I'll just start. I'll start like maybe 3 down, and I'll just make this little shape going up to the middle, off to the corner. I'll go up 3 like so. I'll go down maybe 6. See if I can't just line it up with this line here. Just follow this up until I find this line, until it all matches up with the grid. All right, that's good. I'll close that out, and I'll just get my move tool. I can right-click on this, transform, reflect, and copy it. I'll just drag this onto the other side, like so. All right, so I've got that, and I can add a little shadow on this side by getting my pen tool here. I'll just Control-click, and I'll just add a little shadow by making a little rectangle kind of going this way here, or in this case it's more like a parallelogram. And we'll just darken this up by pulling the fill just a little bit darker. All right, little shadow. Okay. And so what we'll do now is we'll add some height to this. So if I go off the the grid, the artboard, it's okay. I'll select everything. I'll put it back on the artboard here. I'll just make a little shape. You can make it 2 deep. You can make it 1 deep. You can make it as thick as you like. A little slab of concrete kind of a thing, right? We'll join the anchor up here. Pull this over this way. Pull it down. I want to say this is 2. And we'll close it up. Like so. And a little bit of darkness is fine. If it's the same color as the shadow, that's fine. I'll just keep that. I'll right click on this. I'll say transform, reflect. Okay, didn't quite show me what I'm looking for here. Right click, transform, reflect. And I'll press a copy. And I'll just drag this onto this side. And I'll make this like 1 swatch darker. Maybe even 2. Just to make a bit of a bigger difference here. Okay, so we've got the side of our building here. Let me just select everything and just drag everything up a little bit. Kind of get it off into the out of no man's land. Okay, so with my pen tool selected, let's make the roof shape here. So the roof is going to be kind of like this sort of veranda almost. This little outcropping, and we'll see if we can't make this part of the thing here. I want to say this thing is going off the rails a little bit here. Let me grab my direct select tool and I'll just grab this anchor here and I'll just pull this up a bit so it matches up with the other side, and I'll do the same thing to the other side here so it matches up with the center. Obviously if you do this right, you don't have to do this step. And I'll just get my pen tool again, control click, and I'll just start from here in the center and I'll just go up maybe 3 and I'll go out, and I'll see if I can't go out maybe 1 or 2 just to make it seem as if this is sort of kind of extending out beyond the wall, as it were. All right, and I'll make this blue. I'll make this sort of a light blue shade, like that. And I'll just once again click off here, right click on this, transform, reflect, and I'll make a copy. And I'll just drag this over here onto the other side, and I'll make this like maybe not this color, because this is a bit too rich. What I'll do is I'll just go to my HSB and I'll just pull the B down a little bit. A little more. Yeah, that's probably good. And then what we'll do is we'll add some little adornments here. We'll add some decoration. So we'll just start on this side right here. Let me just control click just so I don't have anything selected. I'll just make a little parallelogram like so. And instead of making it this dark blue, I'll make it like white. Let's make sure we close that. All right. I'll make it sort of a whitish color. I'll pull the saturation down and the brightness up a little bit. I'll keep it kind of blue, but more like white, almost like it's sort of a white stripe kind of showing through here. And I'll get my move tool here, and I'm just going to Alt drag it, my move tool here, and I'll just Alt drag it over, say 2 and down like that. And let me try that one more time, see if I can match it up a little bit better. Okay, and that's just Control D. If you just do that, if you get it right the first time and you don't move it at all, you can press Control D. It'll repeat what you just did, and that's perfect. Okay, so we'll just keep that there, and we'll just select all these. Let me just get my move tool, select tool here, and I'll just hold down Shift and select all of these, like this, and I'll just Object Group, and then we'll right-click on them, Transform, Reflect, and make a copy, and we'll just drag this over to this side over here. So line them up right here with the grid. And let me just pull up one more over this way. And obviously you can make this as you can position it over here if you wanted to. Just keep the repeating pattern, or you want to make this whole corner blue. That's fine. I'll just keep it right there. Nudge it up a little bit here. I'm using my arrow tools just to nudge it up. Okay, so what I'll do now is I will darken this up a good deal. So I'll just pull up the saturation a little bit, and I'll pull down the brightness a little bit, just to make it seem as if there's a bit of a shadow on there. So it looks good. Let me just take off my grid just to see what I'm looking at now. This right here is off a little bit, so let me just get my move tool, and I'll see if I can pull that down some to where it lines up well. All right, well, that's probably about as good as it's going to get. Well, I mean, obviously it could get better, but I'll just pull this down some more. Okay, so let's make the top of the roof here. What I'll do is I will grab my pen tool. Here. I'll grab my pen tool, and I'll just make sure I have So Control click, and I'll just click right here in the center, and I'll just make maybe, let's see here, it goes out 2 from the edge, so I'll pull it in 2 like this, and I'll come up to the right even with this corner here, and I'll just make a little point there, and I'll make this little trapezoid shape like so. And then what I'll do is I will make this the same color as this right here, but I'll make it a little bit lighter. So I'll take my fill and I'll pull down the saturation some, and I'll pull down the brightness some too. Saturation a little more. And what we'll do is we'll just get our move tool, and we will right click on it, transform, reflect, and make a copy, and drag it over here. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to get the shape builder here just to combine these 2 shapes, just so I don't have to group them. And I'll just drag this through. So they're one shape now. And what I'll do is I'll just right click on here, and I'll just transform, reflect, and I'll do this horizontally. And I'll make a copy, and I'll just drag this straight up. I can hold down the shift button and make sure it lines up properly with the other side. Okay, so now what we've got is this thing. It's 3 tall here, so I'm going to start my little. I'm going to make a little inner wall here to make it look as if there's a sort of a rooftop that one could climb up if they wanted to get a higher view of things. I'll just Control click to make sure everything's deselected, and I'll just start 3 away from the corner here. So 3 down. Just however you did, just want to make sure it's consistent throughout. You don't have to be exactly like mine, but I'll just make sure this is consistent, and I'll just draw this little diamond shape here, and I'll make this a sort of a gray color. I'll make it kind of a, pull down my saturation, I'll make it kind of a gray color like this. And then what I'll do is I'll build sort of a wall here, and what I'll do is I'll make it the same colors as like the shaded side and the light side over this way. So I'll just get my Control click, and I'll just make a little trapezoid shape here. And I'll get my eyedropper tool, and I'll just make it this color here. Just make sure it's the same side, same color as the wall. Make it seem as it's part of this little structure here. The same thing here. Control click to make sure everything's deselected, so you don't mistakenly get rid of any points. And then I'll just color this one with my eyedropper tool the same color as this wall here. Okay, so we've got our little house, our little building, and the last thing we need is a little little sign. So I'm going to take off my grid here, and I'll get my my text tool here. Just press T on the keyboard, and I'll just type. As soon as you click, it's going to have this little filler text here. Lorem ipsum is a part of the larger Latin text that was just used just to test out your printing press to make sure everything was lined up right. And I'll just type like a word here. I used tacos last time, so I'll use tacos again. And what I'll do is I'll make this a thicker font. Right? So look on your font thing, and you can see if you can't find a thick font. I'll use Impact for now, or Berlin Sans. I'll use Berlin Sans. If you don't have these fonts, just find a blocky font that you can use. And I'll make it a good deal bigger with my move tool here, or my select tool rather. I'll just grab it with the corner, hold down shift, make sure it's constrained, and just think about where it's going to fit in here. It's going to be right above the door. And what I'll do is I'll make the fill white or some other color, and I'll make the stroke black. And I'll thicken that up a little bit just to give it some, emphasis here. Maybe 2 points might be good. And what I'll do is I'll get the move tool here, and I'll go to transform and shear. And let's get a preview going here. Let's see if we can't do this vertically. And I want to say we'll do it 30 degrees. All right, yeah, 30 degrees is good. All right, 30 degrees. So what we'll do is we'll just press OK, and we'll just take this and we'll move this right about here. And it fits in very nicely in the same plane as everything else. All right, so that's our little building. The last thing we'll do is we'll select everything. We'll make it into a group, object group, and we'll just align it to the artboard here. Let me zoom out some. We'll align it to the artboard, middle and vertically, right? And we'll grab our ellipse tool or rectangle tool, and let's make a gradient. So I'm going to pull this down, and what we'll do is we'll just go to our fill, and we'll find under our swatches this little white-black gradient here. And what we'll do is we'll go to Window, Gradient, and we'll see if we can choose a new gradient. So I'm going to double click on this, and I'm just going to choose a random color here. I'll just choose like say for instance like a teal color like that. And I'll go over here, and I'll just grab this swatch, and I'll see if I can't hover over this side. And what I'll do is I'll just double click on it, and I'll just grab the same kind of teal color here, and I'll see if I can't darken it up by pulling up my HSB, pull down my B value a little bit. And here we go. Pardon me, my text. And what we'll do is we'll grab our angle here, we'll change it to like -90, we'll say. All right, so it goes from light to dark. And we'll just click on this, right click, arrange, send it back. So our house is sort of sitting on this. Now you can make this whatever color you want, just make sure it goes from light to dark. And it's not a real extreme gradient here. And I'll just take off my stroke. Layers, or properties rather, with this selected, I'll just take off my stroke so it doesn't have an outline. And what we'll do, instead of doing export as, let's do this. Let's go to File, Export for Screens. And let's take a look at the different options we have when we have export for screens. The idea with the export for screens is that you can export with multiple, pardon me, multiple scales and multiple file types. So for instance, if I wanted to export this as a, export this as a PNG, I could just select PNG or JPEG, whatever. If I wanted to export this at 1 times the scale, or twice the scale, or 4 times the scale, I could do that. So what we'll do is we'll just do this as 2 times the scale, and we'll select JPEG 100, JPG 100, which is going to scale it up a little bit, and it's going to have a high quality JPEG. And you can choose where it goes, right? You can click right here and choose where it goes. So if it goes to your pictures, you can put it on your pictures. And I'll just go over here to, say, for instance, whatever. You just press, select your folder, and when you say export artboard, it'll export it, and you can see it'll come up with this little 2x folder here because it's 2 times the size. And if you click on this, you can see this is a bit bigger. And if I were to click on like the actual size, it's pretty big. It's nice. It's nice and has a good resolution. All right, very good. So this is our first little foray into building a building with the isometric kind of concept here. You can, once again, you can make it look nice by just adding in little details, like little potted plants or little verandas, little flower boxes, things like that, little, place for the person to climb up onto the roof, a little air conditioning box, things like that. Little details can make this thing really nice. But I think this is a fun little simple design. All right, so once you get done with this, you can make your own and see if you can't go somewhere beyond this sort of constraint. See if you can't go beyond this little idea of having just a little box with a little rooftop. See if you can explore your creative edge, right? And make something really pretty. So make a hospital, make an airport, make something different than a little shop. All right. So the only limit is your imagination and of course your ability to use the tools. Right. Well, I cannot wait to see you guys in class. Can't wait to produce.